My name is Imran Salahuddin. I am originally from Pakistan. And the reason I moved to Montenegro is that I was looking for a mixed opportunity, like a quality lifestyle and professional opportunities. So when I researched online, I found this country, Montenegro, and that's why I'm here. I came here, I liked here, and then I stayed here. I started my company, and now I'm living here. In terms of opportunities, I see that Montenegro has some good opportunities here. But coming to Montenegro, it depends. Like for me, it was not easy to come here in Montenegro because we don't have any embassy here in Pakistan of Montenegro. So I have a US visa, so I came on that visa. But if to come here on without a US visa, it's a lengthy process. I have to go to some other country. From there, I have to apply the visa and wait there for 30 days, and then I can come here in Montenegro, and then my process starts. So registering a company was really easy. It was a pretty straightforward process, and I got all the papers ready. But the step after that, which is like obtaining the resident permit, so that was a bit challenging for me because in Montenegro, our documents were not accepted by the government, so they have some agreements with our country government. So this was one thing. Then the other thing was like opening a bank account. That was a really nightmare. And I tried like almost all the banks here in Montenegro, and then after struggling for 2-3 months, and I paid for opening a bank account. This is the very first time I paid for opening a bank account where I'm keeping my own money. So yeah, so these are the two things that were like really difficult. The bank account opening. The second was that the document attestation thing. So my experience was really good. Like Montenegrin people are really friendly, and I didn't find any challenge to integrate in the society. And the good thing is like the English is spoken widely, so I didn't have that challenge also for learning a language in a new country. And yeah, so I mean, people were very welcoming. I didn't have any issues like getting an apartment here or making friends here. It was really easy. But the thing is, you just need to have little patience in everything because things move on their own pace in Montenegro. This is the thing. Otherwise, like, I'm finding it really good here. I'm enjoying my time here. Here, I've noticed, especially in Montenegro, I think you need to have some patience to make some connections and because we are new here, so it takes some time for the people to build some trust here. So if you have some patience, then you can make like long-term relationships here. But if you are just looking for just coming here and start everything right away, you need to have some patience here. This is my advice to all the people that are coming here for business purposes, that stay for some time, understand the people, understand their culture, how the system works here, and then you will be able to crack some good deals here.
He came to Montenegro looking for opportunity and ended up building a life, a business, and a sense of belonging. His story reflects a quiet shift unfolding in Montenegro. As locals continue to leave and key sectors face growing labor gaps, the country is becoming home to more foreign workers, not just in tourism and construction, but in skilled industries too. Yet, as the numbers grow, integration remains a work in progress. This episode looks at what it means to arrive, to stay, and to belong in today's Montenegro. I speak about these topics with Imran Salahuddin, a foreign worker and IT founder, David Perčabić, Director General of the Employment Agency of Montenegro, and Christopher Sheldon, World Bank Director for Bosnia and Montenegro. So we're back for the second episode of our conversations on the labor migrants in the Western Balkans. This episode will be focusing on Montenegro specifically. And here with me today are Mr. David Perčović, who is the director of the Montenegro Employment Agency, Imran Salahuddin, who our viewers have had a chance to meet in the introductory story, and thirdly, Mr. Christopher Sheldon, World Bank Director for Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Montenegro. Welcome to Al Jazeera and to this timely and important conversation. Mr. Perčović, in the region in the past few years, we've started to see these changes. Our region is, as much as we are mixed between ourselves, it is quite homogeneous, and then it's quite noticeable when all these foreigners all of a sudden start appearing. So maybe we start with asking, how does the migration policy of Montenegro and everything that is in place at the moment prioritize integration and social cohesion between the locals and the workers?
Well, as you said, Montenegro is really a small country in terms of numbers when it comes to population, and it's really noticeable when we have high levels of numbers and influx of migration workers coming in Montenegro. It's quite noticeable in small communities, as our cities are quite small, other than Podgorica, which is the capital, but definitely it's I wouldn't say it's as colleague said, it's really we're quite welcoming people, so it's not that difficult for us to accept any migration workers and foreigners in order to introduce them to our labor market. But actually, it's quite difficult for them to get in our system, and we definitely provide certain assistance coming from the Employment Agency of Montenegro in integration process through different workshops, how our labor market works, what are the expectations coming from the employers in the market, and so on. So we're really trying to provide full service, either professional and non-professional, in every possible way that we can, to help them integrate in the society and actually provide the same rights to, maybe if not equal rights as it should be, to migrant workers and our regular domestic workforce. So definitely we're giving our best. The best part of Employment Agency of Montenegro is that we have representatives in each city. In Montenegro, we're covered in full regionally, so basically we can provide all the assistance necessary to all the migrant workers in order to properly introduce them to our society and system working, and definitely provide them in the best possible way the administration process of getting all the licenses necessary for work. And definitely it's quite interesting and challenging to see that process in motion. And it's changing on a yearly basis, because as it's interesting to see foreigners and foreign migrant workers coming in Montenegro, it depends also on their structure when they're coming from. In the near past, we had people coming mainly from Western Balkans region. Either it's Serbia or Bosnia, Albania, but now it's changing a lot. Now, for example, we have Pakistan, we have Turkey, and it's the I don't want to say it's a collision, but it's definitely the exchange of cultures, changing on a yearly basis, and I really believe that Employment Agency should take a huge role in it, and we are doing so.
Mr. Sheldon, as World Bank Director for these two countries in Bosnia and Montenegro, how do you view the specific link between labor migration and economic development in the region? This is something we could even hear at this conference as an idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very strong link between migration and economic development. For the World Bank, it's a really important topic for us. We've been looking at this globally. In 2023, we did our major sort of World Development Report was all about migrants, refugees, and society. So we've been looking at it globally, but also across Europe and Central Asia, and then with a big focus here in the Western Balkans. Firstly, the remittances that come from workers abroad. There's a great opportunity for workers in this region who work in neighboring countries to increase their income pretty substantially. For example, if you're an Albanian and you go to work in Italy, typically you make about 3 times as much money as you did if you stayed back in Albania, or if you're from Bosnia-Herzegovina and you go to work in Slovenia, you make about 2.5 times the income. And that accounts also for the differences in cost of living. So it's substantial. And of course, that leads then to remittances being sent back to the home country. For Bosnia-Herzegovina and Montenegro, it's almost 10% of the GDP is coming from those remittances. So that's a very positive thing also for families that really depend on that income to stay out of poverty or to improve their quality of life. But it's not just that, it's also the migrants that are coming in can address skills gaps that are starting to occur in these countries. There's been a big out-migration, which is usually seen in a negative light, but as I just explained, there's also some positive in terms of the economic impact of that. But it also takes away skilled workers that leaves then gaps in what the society needs, particularly, if you're a doctor and you go and work abroad, well, that's one less doctor back at home. So that skills gap can be addressed through migration coming into the country. So we see that as also improving development in the host country. And that's where I guess we then have to talk a lot about, well, how do we facilitate that in the best possible way?
And Mr. Imran, when you think about your or somebody else's long-term future here in either Montenegro or the Western Balkans, but let's say Montenegro, what does successfully integrated mean to you? Like when somebody would ask you, what does it mean to be successfully integrated here? What does that entail?
The one is like you should have a strong customer base here. Like this is really important. Like as I've started my business, and I've seen that I've been able to reach out to so many companies here, and because we are IT services provider, so it's easy for us. I mean, I feel it's not difficult for me to start something, and once I'm settled here, and I have all my things working in, I think this is the best way I can be there.
And what about language-wise?
Language-wise, I don't see any barriers because when I came here, as I told you, like starting from the airport, finding a working place, finding a good high-speed internet, everything is available here. So I think the facilities are really good in this country, and because I've been to some other countries also, but sometimes it takes time. Like when I landed, like it was very easy to get a SIM card, and everything was up and running, like phone, internet, and so I didn't have any problems in my business. So I just continued what I was doing. So yeah, it was easy for me.
It's easy flowing. It's
easy flow
you
here.
Fit in. And Mr. David, when we talk about these, the prejudice and about possible real community tensions, due to this prejudice, due to these differences, and people not knowing what to expect, and people believing in these stereotypes about people from different parts of the world. What does your agency and how do you fit into this story? What do you do regarding that?
Well, as I mentioned, it's a lot of work in terms of communication, building up the confidence to all the people coming in. But also we're communicating to our citizens as well about
that's mostly what I meant. Yeah.
It's really important to educate unemployment and unemployed persons in our registry that about the people who are coming. We're also having extensive media communication through different media, how important it is to get qualified migrant workers in our society, that they're coming from different regions, and it's more of a strategic multi-institutional approach that we need to share to a wide public in order for everybody to understand how important it is to have a solid base right now. And why I'm saying this, it's because the unemployment rate it's dropping in Montenegro quite fast. For example, at the end of 2023, we had an unemployment rate of almost 14%. Right now, we're having a one-digit number unemployment rate. I don't want to know exactly this day, but it's 9.9 something. But the biggest concern is that this unemployment rate in the south, it's a little bit over 2%. That's actually negative unemployment rate. Why? Because we don't have enough workers in our registry. So it's, migrations are going to happen either we want to accept it or not. and you know they are inevitable, especially because we are EU country, first candidate for EU admission in, you know, very soon in 2028, 29, doesn't matter, but you know, migration workers are going to happen even on a larger scale than they're happening right now. Either we're going to have a bigger influx of foreign workers and migrant workers, and our people are going to leave as well, even though we have a brain drain even right now. So, you know, we really need to balance as an employment agency on a national level this influx of migrant workers, but also we have to take care of our domestic workforce and communicate it properly, because we don't want the labor market in Montenegro to see a threat in the people coming from outside of Montenegro. And that's the main message that we're coming across and delivering through different media. And, you know, we're trying to communicate that nobody is endangering anybody in Montenegro market. Simply, we don't have enough qualified people, so they're more than welcome to share their experiences, share their culture, share all the knowledge that they have. We can learn from, you know, qualified workers coming outside of Montenegro, and for me, that's the main and most important message that we should always deliver to the public in Montenegro.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. You know, when we talk about the World Bank, are there any special initiatives, either from the World Bank that you supported or you plan to support, to ensure that migration does indeed contribute to social cohesion?
Yeah, I mean, jobs is a big focus of all of our work. So when we work sort of country by country and try to work with the specific problems that are in each country. But for example, in my home country, which is Australia, there's a lot of workers that come from the Pacific Islands. So the World Bank had a program to make sure that the qualifications of those workers were then recognized back in Australia and New Zealand to make it easy for them to come in and take those jobs, particularly the more skilled jobs. On the refugee side, we worked in Turkey with a lot of Syrian refugees to really help to facilitate their employment and integration. And you really want to make sure that the skills are matched up well between what the country needs and what the migrant has. Otherwise, you can end up with that mismatch, and then that can lead to some of that lack of social cohesion because people are not really satisfied either with either the migrant coming in or the employer with the skills that they get. So you know, we're actively trying to work with sort of employment agencies in other countries. Migration in this region is changing. So I think in terms of our response in Bosnia and Montenegro, where I work, we also have to change our approach a little bit to fit to that. Because if you look at Montenegro in particular, migration's gone the opposite way at the moment. There was always the worry about the people leaving. Now we have concerns about, well, how do we manage the people that are coming? And Bosnia is still a little bit of a different situation, but we try to work.
There was a route.
Yeah.
I mean, a migrant route, and now it's a destination as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's changing. So also we're changing our approaches to fit to.
Mr. Imran, you know, you told us you're an entrepreneur. You have your IT company that you established here in Montenegro. You know, you're part of the, we can call it expat community, migrant worker community. I think it also depends on the conversation. What kind of experiences do you have, you know, in this co-working part? Also, if I can ask, with your company, the people you work with, are they here in Montenegro or are they globally?
Okay, so we work people globally also, and we also work with the companies in Montenegro. But one thing I wanted to add here is that we employ people from the Montenegro also, and once we have the projects, like we are a services-based company, so we look for people from here, Montenegro also, and we don't find any issues finding a talent here in this country. Mm-hmm. So we can find good developers, good engineers, good designers. So I don't find any difficulties finding a talent here in the country. The other thing is like we try to drive business from other countries like USA and UK. So we have customers there, and we have an office here as well. So like Montenegrin workforce, we have people employed from the Montenegro, and this is how we are working here.
Okay, Mr. David, you know, Mr. Sheldon just mentioned the private sector. So you are coming from the government side. However, I think from the conversation we've had so far, I feel that you are quite open-minded to all of these to all these concepts. So I wonder if you are including and communicating with different kinds of world organizations, NGOs, and the private sectors, and the private sector in trying to aim everything we've talked about so far.
Well, thank you for that brief introduction. Definitely, I'm completely in this administration, not just this, it's even this government is completely working differently than the ones that used before. We're trying to be less bureaucratic than it was before. I'm definitely open-minded to everything, since I'm even coming from a private business also as well in IT, because I used to lead 6 teams for 6 biggest banks in Europe for development of software for the banks. So it's coming
Fintech.
also having some IT experience. But yeah, we're definitely all the organizations that you mentioned are our social partners. Definitely, I've been as director of the employment agency for a year. We made a huge progress in that sense that we signed a whole barrage and a set of memorandum of cooperation with the biggest federations of employers in Montenegro, with the NGO sector, with students as well, because we believe once we have that system put in place, everything will click and be connected at once. We are aware it's maybe a little bit longer process that will take a couple of years, but it's better to start now. Actually, we started last year, so we're like almost halfway there. But we see that the importance of great connection with social partners is as important as anything else. Even though we're providing services to unemployed and employers, those are our two main users of our services as employment agency, but everybody else depends on employment agency, on our active labor market measures, how much we're going to support them, help them out. But I go, as organization, we go one step further, because we believe that proper connection and communication will even bring better results and this add-on value that we can all share and use in the future. So definitely social partners are, in my opinion, and for me, extremely important in all these processes, especially specifically in migration of workers, as we're talking about it, because they need to absorb it.
Yes. Mr. Sheldon, in your global experience, when we talk about integration models, if there are such that we can name them as models, beyond simply legal status of a person, have proven most successful at preventing either ghettoization or forced assimilation on the other side?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So we looked across this globe, but also particularly in Europe and Central Asia, and 3 things really stand out. First is the language training. If you can help prepare the migrant better with language skills, it just makes it easier for them to assimilate. Even where English can be widely spoken, like you're in Montenegro, it just makes a person feel more connected in with the place that they're going to. So that can make a big difference. The second one I mentioned earlier about the skills matching, but that's really important. You make sure that the person's skills are the right for the job. So when they come, they're also not feeling like underwhelmed or in the wrong place, or a high-skilled person ends up in a low-skilled job, and that can be frustration there for both employer and for the migrant. But the third one is a lot about fitting into the society, like schools, hospitals. Where do you go for healthcare? Just the social norms can be different. So some sort of support that helps the migrant fit in better into the culture can really help reduce friction, improve cohesion.
Whose responsibility is that? Who has to make this bond?
I think it's a shared responsibility. I mean, one of the models that we saw with the language training is like the skills were developed in the host country, but the employer from the sending country, the employer from the country that the migrant was going to actually paid for the language training, for example, in order to help them to get that, rather than it being a burden on the migrant themselves to do that. But I think for some of the social cohesion things, the government can play a really important role in that. Some of the countries in the region have these kind of one-stop shops where a migrant can come and really get all of this sort of support and information. So that's a role for government, but it's not just a government responsibility. I think for civil society also there's a role, but also for the employees themselves. If they want to have happy, productive workers that come in, investing in these sort of things also really helps.
Okay, and maybe for the end, to wrap this up, I'd like to hear from each one of you, maybe Imran from you, from a personal side, but also as a businessman in this country, what you want to see in the following, in the period that's ahead of us, regarding this topic, what you want to see changed. Mr. David, I'd like to hear what kind of policies and the trajectory you want to see Montenegro go in, but practically. And Mr. Sheldon, for you, what kind of assistance do you think organizations like World Bank can offer countries like Montenegro, Bosnia, and the rest of the region on this path? So maybe Imran, you go first.
Yeah, so first thing what I'd like to see is that the pathway for us, like when we are here, like I see the rules are changing like every other year, like it's been 2 years here in Montenegro, but like end of every year, I feel that there are some new rules coming in. Now as we will be going in European Union, I don't know like what changes will be there. So the pathway, there is no clarity. This is at least something which I feel. So
no,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He definitely made me a great introduction because that's something that I want to point out. Right now, even though we have a full transparency in working, it's really difficult for any migrant workers to understand this bureaucratic path in order to, get all the licenses. We're really working on, and that's the next strategy, is to align all the institutions. It's not labor market, it's not belonging to the employment agency of Montenegro. It's a set of institutions that we need to work together in order to have a legal framework, and clear path for any foreign worker coming in Montenegro. You're entering at the airport, here's where you're going to apply. By that period, you're going to have your license or whatever. We're going to need a full change of legal framework in order to make this happen. This is actually the strategy to make it easier for everybody to come in Montenegro and go out. And basically, we are setting up EURES or EURES in place in order to help everybody out, because as an EU member, we're definitely going to be part of it. And
just before we go to Mr. Sheldon, do you think that the society and the government in Montenegro are aware of this, of the importance of this?
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are, because of the big number of foreign workers that we have in Montenegro. So definitely, it's a big chunk of it. We are fully dedicated to it, and especially with the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Internal Affairs, even at the beginning with the Ministry of Education. So we're all lined up, and we are lining up.
Thank you. Mr. Sheldon?
So, think of the World Bank as sort of a knowledge bank. We have this global knowledge on these topics, and then we can support countries either through technical assistance around policies, applying that knowledge, but also finance and implement those policies. But it sounds like they're already off to a pretty good start in Montenegro. But that's where I think we could help, is in technical assistance, sharing good practices, and even then financing some of these reforms and investments that the country's trying to make. So I was going to say I'd love to see work on the policy, and they're already working on that. The second then is to just make the mechanisms work, because it's not just one ministry or an agency, it's a lot of different parts of government coming together, but also with the employers and with the the employment agencies, the private ones that are often involved in the contracting of this labour. I would like to see good regulation of those agencies, because that's where we do see in some countries, if it's a bit of a free-for-all, you don't always end up with the best results that both protect the worker and bring the best skills into the country. So sort of regulation of that part of the market is also important, and happy to help with that and continue our good partnership in Montenegro.
Well, I guess this show was then perhaps a good start, at least to kick off the communication. Thank you, Mr. Sheldon, Mr. Salahuddin, and Mr. Perčabić for speaking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you.
Yeah.